Did you hear what I'm saying? Yeah. And you know the rules about time, ne?
And you start immediately.
You show respect to fellow members by the manner in which you respect time. When your time is up, it is up. No negotiations. You can't extend time. You can extend many things, but it's not possible to extend a second or a minute.
Yeah. Can't you start immediately? Sir?
Yeah, I'm saying the clock will start ticking at 14:30.
Why, sir? Not now.
I can't hear what Honorable Breitenbach is saying behind you because her microphone is not on.
Yeah, we all want to start right now. We don't need to wait 3 minutes.
Okay. You want him to start immediately?
Yes, he's ready. For the first time in his life, he's ready. Let him go.
Okay. Can we start? Thank you so much, Honorable Buteles. Thank you so much.
It's God.
Can we start, Honorable Ngola? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. And
Chair. Well, that problem of MK again. They are out. We don't know if they will come back or what. I don't know.
highly possible that they've been changed. Chair. So let's be patient.
The Honorable Skosana, you might have seen him. He came to me to say, no, I will be back. Chairperson, I'm not leaving. So I just assume that those other members have some pressures that they have to deal with. They should come back immediately. If we have to use it in its appropriate context. Okay, Honorable Ngola.
Thank you very much, Chair. 1212, Chair, but if time is against me, I know you will humbly borrow me 10 minutes from your time. Thank you very much, Chair. NTPP, good afternoon. I know that when you are doing what we called then the attorney's board examination, where the specific module on ethics, I know when you do a master of laws, you do an ethical clearance application. So that whenever you want to move on your research, you are ethically cleared. I'm not quite sure when you do a pupillage if there is a particular module specifically training prospective legal practitioners to focus on this expected ethical standard from legal practitioners. Is there one?
So, Chair, through you, is Honourable Member Honourable Ngola referring to in the NPA?
No.
Generally?
I'm talking about, I spoke about attorneys in general. So I'm up because I've never been involved in the pupillage curriculum. So I'm talking about, is there a module that specifically trains advocates on ethical standards expected of advocates of the High Court of South Africa?
I have to be honest, Chair, I don't know, but I certainly hope that there is.
Okay. Fortunately, we've got about 6-7 advocates in the room. They may later help, because I'm asking this particularly because the head of IDEC, Advocate Andrea Johnson, considered before this committee that she has been part of a recruitment panel that has actually employed her husband Do you think that is that conduct ethically and legally correct?
I have to agree, on the face of it, it is very bad error of judgment. She should not have been on that panel. She agreed before this House as well that that was not something she should have done. And I agree with that. If your husband is on a potential candidate, you should not be on a panel. Although she explained the steps that she took to make sure that she wasn't part of his interview, but still, I think I agree, it was a bad error of judgment. I've only just received the information last week, and I'll look into it and see whether that was appropriate conduct, if there's anything that needs to be done about it. This was 20 years ago or so. She was a young prosecutor at the time, but it's certainly something that will need to be looked at, because on the face of it, it's a really bad error of judgment. She should not have been on that panel.
Thank you. General Khumalo, amongst other charges that he's facing, is a matter relating to an employment of a brigadier or an SAPS official. Amongst the issues that which have made IDEC or motivated IDEC to arrest General Khumalo is that particular matter. Do you think that Advocate Andrea Johnson should suffer the same consequences?
I don't know the details of the case involving the IDAC case, but what I can say is that context is sometimes everything, and one has to look at the evidence, the circumstances, the context of each case before you can decide whether the consequences should be the same or not.
So is it the evidence of the NTPP that until date, she has never received any form of update in respect of the IDEC case against General Dumisani Khumalo?
Can you please repeat that?
I'm saying, is it the evidence of the NTPP that until this date, she has never received an update or a report in relation to the case of IDEC against the head of crime intelligence, Lieutenant General Khumalo?
Thank you, Honorable Member. No, through you, Chair, that's not the case. I have certainly received high-level reports on this case prior to the arrest. That is the position.
Okay, let's start on prior the arrest. An adult male from Parliament goes to IDEC and alleges that they have got an intelligence information which they picked up from the doorstep, but does not bring that information, but bring the word of mouth that I picked up this, and then I'm going to do an affidavit with you explaining it. Then that informs the basis of the arrest of General Khumalo. So, was it supposed to happen like that, or how does it naturally become procedurally correct?
So, through you, Chair, to Honourable Member, the IDAC has certain processes which Andrea Johnson explained to this House. I'm not involved in those processes. But of course, the start of the process was the referral by one of the members, one of the honourable members of this House. But after that, I'm not aware of, the precise nature of those processes, except that I do know there's a preliminary investigation and there's potentially an investigation that will be authorized. But the IDAC has its internal processes to assess the evidence at each stage.
So you don't have the details of a case between an investigative directorate against corruption, which falls within the ambit of NPA, against the head of crime intelligence in the country?
That's correct. I don't have the details. As I explained earlier, the NPA, the National Director, is a review mechanism. I don't have the details of the case. And if General Khumalo or anyone else is aggrieved about that decision to prosecute, as I outlined earlier, they are at liberty to refer the matter, to bring a representation to the National Director to consider that matter and then decide whether the decision of the IDAC head was correct or not.
Can I come to IDAC to lay a complaint against whoever and allege that I've got in possession, I am in possession of classified information, intelligence information, and I don't have a clearance certificate to handle classified intelligence information? Will IDAC be legally in correct parameters to attend to such a case?
IDAC's mandate is to investigate crime. And in my view, if IDAC gets evidence of criminality, they have an obligation to investigate it. The other side of it is the legality, etc., can be disputed at a later stage. But I would think that IDAC's mandate requires it to investigate cases as such.
Oh, okay, maybe let's move on this one. Can a labor recruitment process of any institution become a criminal trial against anyone who was part of a panel or was part of a interview selection panel and all that? Can it be a criminal case?
Honourable Member, I have what Advocate Johnson mentioned in this House, that the way state capture happened was that critical people were recruited and replaced, many boards, etc., and in the granting of tenders, specific people are appointed to specific positions. That was her evidence. And I don't know what the evidence is surrounding just the recruitment. She also said that this was part of several other matters. And so, to answer your question crisply, it would depend on the evidence.
Okay. General Mkhwanazi appeared before the committee and narrated a story, a very sad story when you look at it from the face value. Now, there was a time when securing a warrant of arrest against an accused person was actually eminent. Eminent. To an extent that the prosecutor did sign, so when it was to be taken to a magistrate, so that a warrant of arrest is officially issued, that prosecutor received a call from the bosses. The bosses in this context would mean someone higher than him or her in the NPA. Then later came back and said, I am withdrawing my signature on this because I don't want to lose my job. Now, part of what 3.1 of the terms of reference of this committee is to investigate collusion. Whether there is collusion between state officials and crime syndicates. So have you noticed any form of collusion except that one that you don't want to mention his name here? We are going to mention later. But have you noticed from 2019 until this date, as you're presiding over the prosecuting authority, any form of or characters or features or signs of collusion by the NPA officials and crime syndicates?
Honourable Chair, I can't say that I've noticed collusion between NPA and crime syndicates, NPA members and crime syndicates. But what I can say is the OEA has been getting reports of compromised prosecutors who are involved in criminal activity that is under investigation. But organized crime syndicates, I can't say that I have that information.
Okay. Let's step out of that. 6 July 2025, General Mkhwanazi takes it to the public and alleges that NPA is playing part in aiding criminal syndicates to evade justice. Then since then until now, before we called you to this committee, what internal mechanisms has the NDPP established to ensure the truthfulness or the untruthfulness of the allegations, and to ensure that there are systematic mechanisms that are actually will actually enable NPA to avoid such kind of things. Because you'll remember, between me and you, we know that there are part of the cases, big cases, that have directly damaged the image of the NPA. So this is adding to that. So what did the NDPP do in between this time? Because I would ask, because, for example, the Chief Justice did issue out looking for evidence and all those things, because judges, judiciary. So what were the steps taken by the leadership of the NPA in attending to the matter?
So, look, these processes are unfolding in the Madlanga Commission as well as in the ad hoc. Now, we've testified, the National Commissioner has testified. I discussed it with Advocate Johnson, and I will be writing to the National Commissioner to ask him to reveal that we want the names of those prosecutors that General Mkhwanazi alleges is involved in any kind of criminal activity, because this is something that we have to investigate. There were no names mentioned. I don't know that he was pressed to reveal names in this committee, but he didn't reveal them. I wish he did. Would have made it easier for us as well.
Actually, I was the first member to ask him questions, and the first thing I said was that, tell us names.
And he didn't.
He did, to a certain extent.
Okay, so
And passed others to General Kumalo.
Chair, those are the names that we need. And I will be writing to the National Commissioner to get that information, to make sure that's properly investigated. It's just that we need to time it, because there are these other inquiries that are going on, but it's an urgent matter that needs attention.
Okay. Let's take it back to your conversation with the evidence leader of your sentiments on infiltration of the NPA, which, when you were explaining it, you said there are people within the organization who do not have the interest of justice at heart. Did you mean what we are experiencing now, or you meant something completely different from what is accused by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi?
I meant something different, because you'll recall, Honorable Member, through you, Chair, that I made my comments before he did. And so I had no idea what he was going to be talking about. So they were not related.
Do you have internal mechanisms to detect and tackle corruption within the organization?
We have aspirant prosecutors go through a course. They go through an ethical training as well. We have the Office of Ethics and Accountability that's been set up to be proactive in terms of and trying to create a culture of high standards of ethics, and as well as investigating thereafter reactively. We also have a hotline that any member of the public can make reports to, so that we can get the information regarding potentially unethical conduct by prosecutors.
Have you ever been invited to a meeting of the Interministerial Committee dealing with the political killings?
Sorry, Honourable Member, which meeting?
Meetings, interministerial meetings, dealing with political killings. You'll recall that PKTT is a born child of an interministerial committee, where NPA is part of the PKTT.
Honourable Member, not that I can recall that I ever attended an interministerial committee meeting relating specifically to PKTT.
So you don't know how effective has NPA been in aiding the fight against political killings?
I have the statistics from the PKTT, and whether it's been effective or not, we have numbers, but we don't know the extent of this problem. But certainly, There are people that have been arrested and have been charged. So we have those figures.
How many political killings matters have been prosecuted?
I'll have to get those figures. I don't have them at hand. But
You
I
said
can get
you
them.
have.
Pardon me?
You said you have.
We have numbers. The NPA has numbers.
Okay. So as things stand, you don't know how many prosecutions out of the work of the PKTT and how many successful prosecutions out of the work of the PKTT NPA was part of.
I don't have those figures before me.
Okay. Can the NDPP later submit that information through writing? So on the PKTT dissolution, remember PKTT is a multidisciplinary team. On the dissolution of the PKTT, has there been an information sharing, consultation, briefing about the dissolution of the PKTT NPA is part of?
Chair, there's been no meeting with the police, not that I'm aware of, certainly not at national level. The National Commissioner did mention to me at some point that the Minister had ordered that the PKTT be disbanded, but that it had not happened. But that was not really a consultation, it was a casual...
So you heard it from the corridors?
I think you could call it a corridor talk, yeah.
You were on the way walking out of a tea room, then you were briefed?
Absolutely, that's the way it happened. It was an informal conversation.
Okay. On your affidavit, on paragraph 6.3, you make mention of the criminal justice value chain, which I think is one important aspect if we are to fight crime effectively. Now, the common knowledge is that SAPS becomes the first point of entry in the criminal justice system. So, to what extent and in what occasions does IDEC become the first point of entry in the criminal justice value chain?
That's in terms of referrals, in terms of the NPA Act.
Okay. That's fine. Let's talk about the reasonable prospects of a successful prosecution. Do we have internal norms and standards that govern or that determines to what extent, what kind of evidence and that? Or it solely rests with that particular individual prosecutor to take that decision, then it can be overturned later?
Our prosecution policy sets out criteria to be considered in determining whether the standard is met.
Okay. Is IDEC independent?
IDEC is part of the NPA, and the independence of the NPA is guaranteed in the Constitution. I would say the National Prosecuting Authority is not sufficiently independent in that its financial and operational independence still needs to be addressed. The Minister has committed to dealing with this matter. I'm pleased she takes it very seriously, and this House, well, the Justice Committee, Portfolio Committee, has also dealt with this issue, and I'm hopeful. The Minister has indicated that there will be legislation, this matter will be dealt with before the end of this financial year. It is very, it affects the operations and effectiveness of the NPA broadly, not to have its own accounting officer in many ways. And so that is why I say it's not sufficiently independent, because the DG of Justice is the accounting officer of the NPA.
So the independence would mean that the NDPP be the accounting officer of the NPA?
There are options. That's the SARS model. And in fact, the SAPS as well, the National Commissioner is the accounting officer. In SARS, the SARS Commissioner is the accounting officer. So that is an option, or it's having a chief executive officer is also an option. Those things need to be determined by the minister.
So as part of your suggestion to Parliament, is that let there be legislative amendments to strengthen the independence of IDEC and the NPA as a whole?
Absolutely. That is a suggestion to Parliament, and when the minister brings it to Parliament, as she has committed to, I certainly hope that there will be support from the committees to ensure that that happens.
Okay, because the terms of reference actually direct us to also investigate system failures, so that what we get from the testimonies actually inform how we move forward. Myself and you had got a very concerning situation of prosecutors being assassinated. Very worrying situation. Now, do these assassination of prosecutors suggest that it might be a work of some crime syndicates and stuff, trying to silence them on the basis of doing their work?
Is the Honourable Chair, is the Honourable Member saying within staff members? Did I understand the question correctly?
Let me repeat.
Thank you.
Myself and you have been, for quite a long time, been concerned by a growing assassination of prosecutors. And it turns out that in most cases, these assassinations are linked to the cases they're prosecuting. So, does this mean that this is as a result of the work of the alleged crime syndicates trying to silence the prosecutors from doing their work? So,
The short answer, Honourable Member, is certainly in the one case, it was people have been arrested, and it was clearly related to a case that the prosecutor was prosecuting involving organized criminals. In the other case, it is not clear whether it was directly linked, but that prosecutor was involved in prosecuting a bail application involving organized criminals. But no one's been arrested there, but certainly the circumstances suggest that it was a hit because nothing was taken. And you're right, it's a very serious and growing concern. In my 40 years of prosecuting, we've not been concerned about prosecutors being killed. Now, we are living in and it demonstrates what's happening in this country. And prosecutors being killed is a new phenomenon. Sadly, we've had police officers that have been killed in the past, but more often for firearms, I would think most of the cases. But now targeting prosecutors for the work that they do, and whistleblowers, and forensic investigators, is something that we as a country have to consider. And that is why I mentioned earlier when I was being led about whistleblower protection. We've asked for an increase in budget to protect prosecutors. These are expensive. It costs a lot of money. And you protect not just a prosecutor, you protect families. And it upsets your life. So it's a very serious issue that as a country, we need to look at how government needs to strengthen its protection mechanisms, also working with the private sector.
but has NPA done an internal assessment on the causal links on the assassination of prosecutors so that it helps you develop proper mechanisms to prevent that?
We've looked at the two recent cases and assessed and analyzed what happened there. Even though one of the cases was clearly because of the work, we have put in place mechanisms to strengthen the safety of prosecutors, our security and risk team in the NPA. We've got mechanisms for them to react at very short notice, to give immediate security to prosecutors who feel the threat immediately. But of course, there's a process, if it's not an immediate threat, to assess the risk and to make sure that we protect the right prosecutors. But we will not compromise on the safety of prosecutors. And we've also been engaging with our external partners, with the Canadian government, with our Society of State Advocates, to get trainers in to assist prosecutors to be more proactive, to protect themselves in circumstances and not put themselves out to additional risk.
So out of all the prosecutors that were killed, there is only one case where the alleged perpetrators were arrested.
I think the short answer is yes. I hope I have that right. The short answer is yes. We had 2 prosecutors that were killed this year. And another prosecutor that was killed in what looked like a hit. It was probably about 2 years ago. But there have not been arrests in those matters. There's been arrests only in the one case.
But what are the bottlenecks? Because society expects, at least, that if a person is a police officer, is a prosecutor and stuff, expects that at least justice will quickly be done. But beyond that, as we attend with those families who lose their loved ones, we promise every time that we're going to prioritize this. The statements of NPA do promise that this matter will be prioritized, blah, 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 blah. So, but what are the bottlenecks so that if there is a way Parliament can meet halfway, we do that? What are the actual bottlenecks?
So, through you, Chair, this is a complication that we face with a lot of crimes, and one would expect, correctly so, not that other crimes are less serious, but when it is one of your own, that the police, the prosecutors work together and do everything possible to try to bring the perpetrators to book. What the challenges with investigating these matters are is something I think that's better dealt with by the police. But clearly, whether we have more cameras installed, for example, in certain high-risk areas so that the evidence could become more readily available. I don't know, but it's about the difficulty of getting witnesses, getting evidence, and also people coming forward to testify. So I think the police are best placed to, really talk about the challenges with investigations. I don't know what the challenges in these particular cases have been, but it's a challenge we're facing in dealing with crime in this country generally.
How does all this affect the morale of your staff?
It sends shockwaves through the organization. And, to lose one of your own who's working hard for justice in this country. I went to the home of Tracy Brown and Ilona Sambalula when they passed away. And speaking to the prosecutors, I spoke to one young female prosecutor, and she said, "Ma'am, we are warriors. When one of us falls, we keep fighting." And I feel incredibly touched by the strength of prosecutors who still fight the good fight in extremely dangerous and difficult circumstances. So trying to keep prosecutors motivated at a time when we are under attack in this way is extremely difficult. But I think a lot of prosecutors do the work because it's a calling to serve in a very real way. But something like this, it's very difficult to motivate prosecutors to keep fighting the good fight when we are under attack in this way. So the short answer to your question is it sends shockwaves, and prosecutors become very fearful.
Evidence suggests that there is a collusion between prosecutors and Metropolitan Police, to an extent that the instances where EMPD, for example, would arrest someone outside their jurisdiction in Soweto, which is JMPD, but still prosecutors are prosecuting those cases even at the time when the arresting officer did not have a local standard to arrest because it was outside their jurisdiction. What is your take on that?
It's unacceptable. It is totally unacceptable. And these are things I urge the public. We have an Office for Ethics and Accountability. Please, when these things happen, you must bring it to our attention, because there's an absolute zero tolerance in the NPA for unethical conduct. And the only way we can act on this is if we get people reporting to us. The challenge with corruption is that two people are benefiting. And when these corrupt activities are happening in courts, the person that is receiving the benefit is not going to say that prosecutors are corrupt. So it's extremely difficult, but we have had some information coming through about certain courts where prosecutors are behaving in this manner, and those matters are under investigation by our OEA.
Will the NDPP be assessing all the cases brought by Metropolitan Police to check if they did have jurisdiction over those accused people?
Since the matter has come up, we must certainly do that. And I commit to this House that we will look into that issue.
What damage do you think all this fracas has done to the image of the Independent Prosecuting Authority?
There's damage to the entire system. We have to look at how the system functions. And the system is as strong as its weakest link. So these are all these issues are systemic issues. And of course, they damage the image of the NPA, they damage the independence of the police, of the Metro Police, of the court system. And that is why we need to look at how do we deal with all of these systemic challenges, because they are not going to go away. We need to, as a committee, seriously consider these issues to see how do we strengthen the system. And I'm sure I'll get questions later about the NPA and its image, and I can deal with that later.
Okay, Chair. That's all from me. Thank you.
Honorable Matthews.
Thank you, Chair. Mine is just to address the issue of gender-based violence, Advocate. And I think your response, or how you are saying what the NPA is doing in regards to gender-based violence, is a slap in the face for so many victims right now who have gone to court. And prosecutors have not even bothered. Child rapists have not even bothered to say that this one must be denied bail. And it happens more often than not. Even those centers, I don't know when last you visited them. I was at one at the Mohammed Gandhi Hospital in Phoenix the other day. It's hardly even operational. So, and mine is just more of a response that Advocate, don't leave here and like misrepresent. It's almost like a slap in the face of an ordinary South African who has been subjected to this criminal justice system to say that it's working and it's functioning. When it is working and when you are having successful prosecutions, it is an exception rather than the rule. So I'm just asking you to be sensitive to the cries of the ordinary South Africans today. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I want to emphasize that as prosecutors, we are lawyers for the people. We represent victims and we represent the people of this country. And I certainly am not, I didn't say the system is functioning. In fact, when Honorable Sangoni asked questions, Chair, I was very clear that there are lots of challenges in the system. And so we have to look at the systemic challenges. And the work that prosecutors, ordinary prosecutors, every day are doing in courts. Of course, there will be those cases when prosecutors don't do what's expected of them. But that must be reported. We have a sexual offenses and community affairs unit where when we get, if I see a report in the media, for example, I immediately get onto it and I say, I want to report on this. DPP, can you look into this? If I see that there's been some case involving gender-based violence, it's in the media and we haven't acted quickly enough, I ask for a report, I send it through, and I want to know why. But I ask the public, victims of crime, if you're unhappy with any service you're getting from prosecutors, please report it up in the provincial structures. The DPP is there. Please lay your complaints, and you will be listened to, and we will make sure that you get the service that you deserve. I accept it's not perfect. You mentioned the TCC in Durban. We have been working to, the TCCs, we have been working recently together with the private sector to build more TCCs, to refurbish those that were getting into disrepute. And I agree with you, there are some of them that are not the way it should be, because we haven't had funding, we haven't had finances, and we've not been able to really keep them at the standards that we would like to. But working with the private sector, there's been a lot of work that's been done. For example, the one in Madadeni is we've just opened a new TCC because that one was in a terrible condition. So we're working slowly, and as we get the funding, we will be able to, because it's not acceptable that we should have TCCs in that state. But we're working really hard to make sure that they are refurbished, and that when complainants come to an area, it must be conducive to them being able to get all the services that they need.
MKP, your time starts now. It's 24 minutes past 3.
How many minutes are you adding, Chair? I noticed Honorable Sokanyilo of the ANC took about 4 minutes more. She started at 03, finished at 14.
The time is 30 plus 10. 30 for the full member and 10.
Yeah, she took more, Chair. Oh, you're a full member today? Oh, wow. But they said you have 7 minutes left, and then you finish 14 later. No, it's fine, Chair.
I know that the MKP comes from the ANC. No. You can't stop him from being nostalgic about the ANC.
Calm down. When I'm stopping corruption, guys, you must calm down. It's ANC. Thank you, Chair. Sawubona, ma'am, how are you? Sawubona. I have 2 issues that I came across on social media that I need to ask. Starting with the issue that we're talking about, gender-based violence. I came across an issue of a father in Johannesburg. His name is Asif Kasoji. There's an issue with a lawyer called Camilla Pauls, who works for Harold G. Attorneys here in Cape Town. Now my question is, you see, there's this thing of fathers not paying support. And we lack such fathers. But this father pays his due accurately, but is deprived of an opportunity to see his children, spend time with them, see medical cards, medical reports and all those things, and school reports. Now, and this is happening because there's a blockage from a lawyer, a certain lawyer whom I mentioned here, Camilla Pauls. Now, what I want to know is that, do you take lawyers who have been running their legal firms to be prosecutors? That's my question.
In terms of the NPA Act, we are able to acquire the services of private practitioners to assist the NPA.
Do you vet them?
I think there's some tax clearance requirements. There's confidentiality documents that are signed, but they are not vetted. Vetting takes, I think there's a basic level of vetting. I need to get details on that, but it's not the kind of vetting that happens in SSA.
Okay. So do you check with the LPC the historical background of such lawyers? For instance, it once reported that there is a lawyer, which is this one, in this newspaper. So do you check such historical background of such lawyers?
I will have to check what internal checks are done and come back to you on that. But there
Okay.
is, I think, a basic level of vetting. Whether they check with the LPC, it would certainly be a good thing to do that, and I'll just look into that.
You are widely perceived as a Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa's protector. I think you know about that one.
Not that I'm aware.
Why has it been that he has not been charged with the Phala Phala case?
If the chair will give me a moment, I just want to get my facts in terms of where this matter is currently. There's two matters in this matter. There's two matters in relating to the Phala Phala case. One is the possession of US dollars by the president, case opened by Mr. Arthur Fraser, and the other is, and this particular case is in the, a decision was taken by, no, there's no decision on the matter yet. This matter is with the DPP, I think it's Limpopo. The file is with the Specialized Commercial Crime Unit in the head office, and they are going to get a panel to sit on this matter to consider it, but there's no decision. So that is that matter. The other matter relates to theft of cash from the president's farm, which is in court.
Okay, tell me about this one. The section. Oh.
Can I check what is the point, Honorable Malem?
No, Chair. She can't say she's not aware of where the decision lies on the matter of Phala Phala, because there's a decision by DPP in Limpopo not to prosecute. And even the head of IDEC told us that the matter is with her because there were people who took that matter on review. And the question is, why is she unable to prosecute on that matter? Even when Limpopo declined, there was a review which was brought to attention. That's where that matter is. To say there's no decision on Phala Phala is incorrect.
What I want you to do is to hold that question and allow the honorable member to conclude his questioning. I will come back to yourself and Honorable Nomval. As a belief, honorable members, you are going to distract the chain of thought of the honorable member. Just take note of your questions. You will be afforded that time. You see, my problem is if I deviate from the principle, and then
Awungabavulela chess beso. But not on my time.
we will end up having unintended consequences. May you continue, Honorable Noval. I'm going to credit you for 4 more minutes.
I appreciate that, Chair. But kindly do me a favor, Chair. When my 10 minutes lapse, can you stop me so that I don't take his time? Thank you very much. Okay, on that note, ma'am, the Section 189 parliamentary panel, chaired by former Justice Sandile Ngobo, do you remember that one, right? Found a prima facie case evidence against President Ramaphosa. The former head of Hawks publicly stated that investigation report is already on your desk. So why have you not acted on that?
Chair, I want to understand for clarity, is the honourable member saying that someone from the Hawks said the matter was on the National Director's desk?
Yes.
That's incorrect. I've never received this matter.
You've never. Should we do a follow-up and find that the matter you did receive? Are you willing to come on record and say, I did and I didn't act on it?
I would have received reports from the DPP, but certainly not a complaint from the Hawks relating to this matter. I'm not dealing with a review process. They would have been reporting in terms of high-profile matters, but there's nothing on my desk for my consideration in this matter.
You spoke of ethical leadership. So, do you regard yourself as an ethical leader?
I do.
Why have you not acted on Phala Phala?
I beg your pardon?
Why have you not acted on Phala Phala?
Because there are processes to be followed in the legal process. The DPP takes a decision on the matter or not. And of course, anybody is entitled to ask that the National Director review this matter. That review process is not kicked in, but I'm trying to get clarity on whether Honorable Malema might be correct, whether the DPP in fact took a decision in this matter, and whether there is a review process in the SCCU head office. But I want to get clarity on that. But for now, to be clear through you, Chair, the matter is not on my desk. I have never considered this matter or the merits of this matter.
So the ethical leader in you doesn't say do something about Phala Phala. Anyway,
There are processes at the moment that are happening. The matter is at the head office.
the ethical leader in you.
That's correct. There are processes, and the matter is at the SCCU in the head office.
So the ethical leader in you only says that. It doesn't say do something about Phala Phala. It only says just know where the matter is.
That's not correct. If the DPP has done anything wrong in taking the decision, then of course I must intervene. And there are processes. The matter is with the SCCU head office at the moment.
Let's pass. Do you know Paul O'Sullivan?
I beg your pardon?
Do you know Mr. Paul O'Sullivan?
I've never met him, but he does send emails. I may have met him at I better hasten to add, if he was at some social event where I was there with him, I might have, but I can't recall.
Chair, I think I'll end here and donate my time to Honorable Nomvalo. Thank you. If I may.
Just hold it there. Thank you so much. The honorable members who want to make follow-ups, can I see your hands? Honorable Nomvalo, Honorable Skosana, Honorable Sangoni, Honorable Malem, Honorable Breitenbach. And I must remind you that there is no honorable member who is going to be allowed to make a follow-up on the question that he or she asked. Thank you. Can we proceed in that order?
Yeah, no, thanks, Chair. My follow-up relates to the first question of Honorable Shongwe about enrolling attorneys who have been running their private firms into your organization. You know, there are lawyers who have been struck off the roll by the LPC. Now, I think the question is, if they apply to your organization, do you accept them? But secondly, there are lawyers whose DC hearings are pending or DC outcomes are pending. Like this lawyer that he has mentioned, I think her name is Camilla Pals, practicing in Herald G Attorneys. In relation to a matter of Asif Kasuchi, I think it was widely reported in the media that he has been deprived of his parental rights. Now, do you consider such lawyers who have pending cases and lawyers who have been struck off the roll?
I don't consider that they would be people that the NPA should be hiring. So my colleagues have informed me that they do a vetting process, which is normally whether they fulfill the requirements to run a business properly. I don't know what that means. I need to get clarity on that. But also reference checks. But I think we do need to add checking with the LPC if that is not the case, because I certainly agree with Honorable Nomvalo that we should not be hiring such lawyers to be working with prosecuting cases for us.
Honorable Skosan.
Thank you, Chair. Advocate, you said that if the decision, the DPP has taken a decision, whether that is the decision let me put it in a simple term, doesn't make sense to the people of South Africa. Remember, justice is not operating in a silo. If there's an outcry, as an NDPP, are you not allowed to intervene?
Of course, if there's an outcry and it appears that the DPP has in fact done something wrong, then the NDPP should intervene. But if the reports received by the National Director suggest that the DPP has not done anything wrong and has complied with all the policy requirements, the evidentiary standards, etc., then there's no need to intervene in that matter.
Chair, because I'm still going to have my time about the DPP we are talking about here. I thank you.
Honorable Sangon.
Chair, I didn't have a follow-up. I was just requesting to address you. Can we please ask the DA to ask the Minister of Public Works to get the aircon working? We are dying. It's been 2 weeks. Where is good governance, Chief? Please, Chair. Thank you so much.
Can I respond to that? So the Minister of Public Works has been the Minister for 3 minutes. And for 30 years, the ANC has been the Minister, and they did nothing here. So don't come to me.
Honorable Breitenbach, let me tell you this to you, Honorable Breitenbach and Honorable Sangun. You know, Walter Sisulu, when he was asked what made him one of the best secretaries of the ANC, he answered by saying that the day he was elected, he took Walter home and brought a secretary to the ANC. The two of you, can you take the ANC and the DA home and bring public representatives here? Honorable Malim.
No, I wanted to check if Advocate have you confirmed, because it will be very worrisome that you come before this platform and you know one of the high-profile cases you're dealing with is this matter of Phala Phala, and you come and say you don't know what's happening with it. I mean the NPA withdrew this matter. I mean, refused to prosecute. And it was announced, and it was said that the matter is before you. I think that should be in 2024, somewhere there, where the DPP of Limpopo said it's not prosecuting, and then there was an outcry, and the response was that the matter is being reviewed by the NDPP.
You, Chair, can I clarify? Yes, I've now got clarity on this. My notes were not clear. It is a review process. The matter is in the head office in the NPA. It's being dealt with by the Specialized Commercial Crimes Unit that processes the reviews, and that matter will be dealt with. Thank you, Chair, and I apologize for the lack of clarity on that.
You can apologize to Honorable Shongwe first, because that's a question I asked.
Thank you so much.
Apologies, Honorable Shongwe.
15:40. Your time starts now, ends at 10 past 16 hours. Is that Nombalo
thank you.
or Skosana?
Thank you,
Is
Chair.
it you or
Yeah,
Skosana?
no, it's me, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, NTPP. You know, I've got a privilege because you account to a committee which I'm part of, the Justice Portfolio Committee. And my observation with you, which I've shared openly, is that you are very quick to become dismissive. And that leaves me with an impression that you are the NDPP who does not understand his statutory responsibilities. And I'm going to a particular question with this statement. I'm not just making a statement here. When I arrived here, we had the first meeting with you. I asked you about the Cindy Somakaka case, which was widely reported in the media space. You said you don't know what is happening on that case before it reached the stage that it is in today. You came to our committee when you came to report about the Omotoso case. You admitted that you never made any supervision to the case up until the ugly consequences that South Africans experienced. The Gupta extradition. There are many cases that I can explain which you failed to supervise in terms of the statutory responsibility that is given to you. Now, I'm not crucifying you here unfairly so. I'm saying this based on experience. And I even requested that you resign before January because I think you are just in this position for the sake of being in it. You don't understand it. I made a plea and I even said to you, even if I meet you in town, in the toilet, everywhere, I will request you to resign because in my understanding, you are not fit for this position. Now, Section 34 of the NPA says, the NDPP may direct a DPP to submit a report to him regarding a specific activity relating to his or her powers, duties, and functions. That is the first section that gives you huge powers to run the institution holistically. Section 22 says, the NDPP may direct a DPP to submit a report in respect of any case, matter, prosecution. Now, when it says prosecution, it gives you a responsibility to summon a report, even if the prosecution is still underway, to say, NDPP, come to my office or give me a report about this matter and advise or overturn, as you said that you can overturn the decision of the NDPP. But in many instances, you refer a responsibility to the DPP and says, no, it falls in his competency and you have no statutory responsibility. Now, do you agree with me if I say to you, you have a particular understanding of your statutory responsibility other than the responsibilities that you are given by the NPA Act?
I'm not sure I understand the question, Chair. If that can be clarified so that I can properly answer
Let me ask it like this. You said here, when you were asked about the KZN issue, I think so, you said it falls in the competency of the DPP, and you never involved yourself on that issue because it was done by the DPP. I've explained different events here wherein you used the same excuse to say, no, this does not fall in my competency. I can't instruct the DPP to prosecute or not to prosecute. And you have repeated those words here today. Now I'm saying the statute gives you those powers, but you are not using them. You can advise the DPP to prosecute or not to prosecute, in my understanding, based on the provisions which I've just read for you.
Thank you. I understand that question better now. Firstly, I cannot advise a DPP, Honorable Chair, to prosecute or not to prosecute a case because I do not get involved in assessing the evidence in a case. And the fact is, Honorable Chair, the Act makes it very clear what the responsibilities are, what a DPP's responsibilities are to decide and make decisions to prosecute, as well as the Act creates two offices, actually. It creates an office of the National Director, and it creates an office of a DPP, which consists of a whole, the Act sets out what that office consists of. And it's very clear what a DPP should do and the powers of a National Director. So in terms of decisions to prosecute, the National Director cannot tell a DPP who to prosecute or who not to prosecute. But you are correct in that there are certain other powers. The National Director is in charge of the National Prosecuting Authority. And as such, the National Director's got to ensure that the institution is well run. And that would mean calling for reports on certain issues. That would mean a whole range of things. And so certainly I also want to deal with the examples of cases that the Honourable Member mentioned, because I think it's important that I don't leave that unresponded to. So with regard to the Omotozo matter, again, I emphasize the day-to-day management of cases rests with a DPP. And of course, yes, when things went horribly wrong in that matter, then I had to step in to find out what was going on. But we were not aware that there were risks before that. And so that's the one case. And again, I implore that it is not regarded with the greatest of respect as an example of how NPA deals with gender-based violence issues. And Chair, I've dealt with that extensively, so I won't go back to that. The issue of the Gupta extradition was also raised. And it's important that I deal with this because, with all due respect, I speak to this honourable committee, but also to the people of this country. The Gupta extradition matter, I won't go into details, but we are still trying to understand why we lost that extradition case. There will be another request for extradition that will be submitted fairly soon. I don't want to give timelines. But one of the risks are that we actually fail again because we didn't know what the reason was for the failure in the first instance. But that's not going to stop us. We will submit a further extradition request. So I think you are correct in terms of the powers of the National Director to make sure that the institution is run properly. And I want to assure the Honourable Member that the NPA is a well-run institution today. We have ethical leadership. The performance of the NPA, besides these couple of cases, very important cases, setbacks, none of those cases have reached the end of the legal process. We are certainly hoping that there will be a successful appeal in Omotozo. In the New Lane matter, for which the NPA was crucified, the Supreme Court of Appeal has overturned that decision, and we will have to start that case all over again, which already puts us at risk. So I just want to emphasize that the performance of the NPA has gone up from 50% to 75%, and in Q1 this year is sitting at 81%. That is not indicative of a failing organization. I agree there have been setbacks, and we've learned from that. And we need to make sure that those things do not happen again. But the NPA is certainly, with asset forfeiture, for example, which is an important aspect, we have recovered almost 50% of everything that was recovered in 25 years of the AFU has been recovered in the past 4 years because of a very determined asset forfeiture strategy, because of innovative policies. And money from Kara, that I think it's 6.6 billion, that's like 6 times what it cost us to fund Zondo Commission. We're already seeing results of that because it's mainly because of evidence led there that we're able to recover this amount of money, which also funded government's response to dealing with illegal mining. So you make important points, but it's important to understand the context. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, no, because my problem, NTPP, with these cases that I've just mentioned is that you only came in after a crisis presented itself. During the course of prosecution, you never intervened, even when these cases were widely reported in the media space. Don't you think that somewhere, somehow, you were irresponsible? Because when a case is broadcast, it gives you an opportunity as well as the NPA to showcase your strength, to intimidate criminals. Now, when you just go on TV, you watch like all of us ordinary South Africans, and you do absolutely nothing, and wait for a crisis to come, and only come in when there is a crisis, whereas you have a constitutional weapon, you have a statutory weapon that you can use, because at any time, you can call the DPP and say, DPP, can you give me an update on this matter? And support them when there is a need to support them. Now, you have just been observing, like all of us, sitting at home watching TV, doing absolutely nothing to assist the prosecutorial work that has been done in these cases. So I think if you are a responsible DPP, NDPP, you must accept that you abdicated your responsibility, especially in the Omotoso case, because you never did anything up until there was a crisis.
So, Honorable Chair, I want to emphasize that directors of public prosecutions are highly paid, responsible, powerful members of the prosecuting authority. And I, as the national director, any national director, expects them to be doing their job. Of course, if there's an obvious crisis that's happening, you must intervene. We have put in place processes where DPPs now do a proper risk evaluation of every high-profile matter, dealing with any potential risks and what they are putting in place to ensure that those risks do not materialize, or if they do, we mitigate the consequences. So I understand the role of a national director, but the DPP's responsibility, there was no apparent crisis waiting to happen in this matter, and DPPs are required to manage risks in their division. But if there's an obvious crisis, of course, the national director must intervene, which was not the case in these matters. Thank
Okay.
you.
Now let's move to another one. If I had enough time, I was still going to pursue this one, because still I'm not satisfied. On paragraph 83, page 29, you are saying in your statement, the process of appointments should be synchronized and depoliticized to ensure transparency, merits, and accountability at all levels of prosecutorial leadership. Do you want to expand more on that statement which I've just read?
Through you, Chair, which paragraph again?
Paragraph 83, page 29 in your statement.
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Yes.
So the appointment process of a national director, not just a national director, but 4 layers below the NDPP are political appointments.
Yes.
Let's say the power to appoint lies with the executive. The president appointing the first 3 layers, national director, deputy national director, and DPPs, and the 4th layer, which is deputy DPPs across the country, is a ministerial appointment. And so I think it's important that, and it's very good that the president and the current minister have now initiated transparent processes to appoint the national director. I certainly hope that similar processes are put in place for the other layers in the NPA as well. But in order to ensure that you have a professional national prosecuting authority, you need to ensure that the person that is appointed, persons appointed at all those levels, understand what their oath of office means, understands what the rule of law means, and understands that you conduct and you do your work without interference of any nature, whether it's across the board, and that's set out in my statement. But I think what I would want to say is that perhaps the process should be depoliticized in the sense that if there is an open and transparent process, I like what the current minister and president have done, is that except for the minister, I think there's no politicians in that committee. That is a way of depoliticizing it, which is a good practice. So those are some of the things that need to be done.
Yeah, you know what attracted me in this statement or in this paragraph are these 2 words, synchronized and depoliticized. And they left me with an impression that your impression is that the current process is problematic in that it attracts political interference by its nature and by its design.
I think an NPA, given the way it's structured, I'm not sure that there are many prosecuting authorities in the world that do not have some line of accounting to the executive. So that is something will be there, but you need the executive and the prosecuting authority to have people in these institutions that actually respect the authorities and independences of each. And as I've said, we are very fortunate in this country right now to have that situation where there's no political interference at all. I've worked with 3 ministers now, and I've not had political interference from any one of them or from the president himself.
I think you are now confusing me because we are saying here, unprovoked and voluntarily, that the process must be synchronized and depoliticized. In the same breath, you are saying there has been no political. So where are you taking this thing from? From the atmosphere? Because when you say it must be synchronized and depoliticized, you mean currently it is politicized.
No, I don't. I mean, that was what will be. This committee also wants, recommendations in terms of how we can improve processes. So it doesn't mean it's currently politicized.
I thought maybe to a certain extent you are agreeing with a perspective of the MK. We've made a submission in the constitutional review that the appointment authority must not be vested in the powers of the president, as it is suggested by Section 11 of the NPA, and the removal authority as well. Our view is that the NPA must go under Chapter 9 institutions. They must be either appointed by Parliament or by any objective panel. That is our view. And 2, the current system doesn't allow a Parliament to act when there is a crisis in the NDPP, in that it only allows Parliament to come at the tail's end. So the process, the suspension or the removal process is initiated by the president. That is our perspective. So I thought maybe we are in agreement, because our view is that the current form or the current system attracts political interference. Now you are saying the current process is not politicized, you have never experienced any political interference, but in a statement you are saying it must be depoliticized.
If I may respond to that, the issue of the Chapter 9, and see the MK party is aligned with the DA as well in that regard, with regard to the Chapter 9 institution. As I said earlier, there are very few countries in the world where a prosecuting authority is completely outside of any executive accountability lines. And so, from that perspective, we'll have to change the constitution to start off with, and of course that's not impossible to do, I understand that. But to make the point that this is very rare where a prosecuting authority is completely without accountability of some sort to the executive. And that being the case, I think one way of strengthening, I agree, the advantage of a Chapter 9 is that the removal of the head of a Chapter 9 requires a 2/3 majority from Parliament, when in fact the removal of an NDPP, I hope I get this right, is a simple majority. And so I think what you can do is amend legislation to make the removal of a national director dependent on a 2/3 majority in Parliament. And I think that is the one really good advantage of a Chapter 9 institution over and above the current framework of the prosecuting authority. But I want to hasten to add that the financial and operational independence of the NPA, which the Minister is addressing, is a critical aspect that will certainly strengthen the prosecuting authority.
NDPP, do you know that the ANC, and I'm not mentioning its name here because I've got some obsession of some kind, but it's inevitable. Do you know that the ANC has a policy called the step aside policy? The ruling, I don't know whether it's a ruling party or it's a former ruling party.
I've read about it.
I don't understand this GNU thing. Do you know that they have a policy called the step aside policy?
I've read about it in the media.
Has that policy not influenced the running of the NPA? especially towards conferences. Have you never been exposed to a case where politicians want to influence how you must prosecute and who you must prosecute in pursuit of factional objectives that are related to an elective conference of the ANC?
I will vehemently deny that that is the case in the NPA. Certainly at my level, whether prosecutors at lower levels are being influenced, I don't know. I certainly hope not. But if they are, then with the right evidence, they will be dealt with, because there is no place for any kind of political. In fact, our policy is also clear on that, that acting without fear, favor, or prejudice also means acting without any political influence or any other kind of influence. So I have certainly not experienced that.
NDPP, as a legal person, do you agree with a principle that says justice denies is justice delayed?
Justice delayed is justice denied.
I mean, justice delayed is justice denied. I'm sorry.
I do agree with that.
If you agree with it, is it justifiable for the NPA to charge people when they do not have, or to prosecute people when they do not have enough evidence to prove their case? Is it justifiable, for instance, in a case of the former mayor of eThekwini, Zandile Gumede, that she was charged, I think, 8 years ago, if my memory serves me well. Up until today, the NPA is zigzagging. There is no clear direction from the prosecution side. Do you think that is justifiable?
So there's a number of questions in that question. Firstly, at a principle level, it's not justifiable. We, as a matter of policy, we will only prosecute when we have evidence that meets the standard of reasonable prospects of a successful prosecution. And we have impressed upon prosecutors that in the case of economic offenses, we should be almost trial ready, because there's no need to rush with the case and enroll it and then be seeking adjournments for further investigations. So at that level, I certainly agree with it in principle, but I'm not going to comment on the Zandile Gumede matter, because that matter is in court currently.
No, I'm not saying let's talk about the merits. I'm saying a crisis surrounding that case generally, that it has been postponed for, I think, for almost 8 years without any successful prosecution.
If I get the detail, I don't know if I have it here, about why this case has not proceeded as quickly as it should for 8 years. In most matters, we find that it is because of various reasons not attributable to the prosecutions. I'm not saying that there aren't instances when prosecutors are responsible, but for the majority of cases, it is a deliberate delaying strategy on the part of the defense to ensure that cases do not proceed. There are other instances where magistrates recuse themselves, magistrates pass away, it needs to, so there's a whole range of reasons why. I don't have all the reasons in the Gumede matter, but I'm almost sure that, excuse me, if I get the reasons, this is what will be borne out.
I doubt that you will give me a proper answer to a question that I'm going to ask now, because of my experience with you, that you don't involve yourself with many cases up until there's a crisis. So there's no proper monitoring and evaluation, no proper supervision from the office of the NTPP. The DPPs are just on their own. You only come in when there's a crisis. Now, I want to ask about the Khumalo case. Khumalo was arrested by IDEC for an HR matter. Have you ever done a supervision of that case?
If you'll just give me half a second, I have a tickle in my throat. I'm trying to get rid of it. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yeah, she's had a question.
Sorry, it's my post-nasal drip. Triggers
Chair,
sometimes.
She has been coughing for a minute, Chair.
No, but Nomvalo, you are unfair. The question is hard. Yeah, she's had a question.
My
Consider my
apologies.
time, Chair.
I must apologize for this. So I explained earlier that with regard to these matters, the National Director does not get involved in, excuse me, in the detail of a case.
So you have never supervised, even after it was broadcast?
No, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to.
Or you're not done?
I'm not yet done.
Oh,
My
okay,
apologies.
Yeah.
Protect the witness.
You are breathing heavily.
I need a
on the
minute and
neck
I'm sure I'll be fine.
of the witness.
It normally
please
works with
back
the
off?
lozenge. So
Okay, no,
Advocate.
okay, we can take a break, Chair.
I think I'm fine, Chair. I can
Relax,
continue now.
relax.
Thank you. In that matter, as I explained, well, in all matters, particularly, well, let's deal with IDAC matters, because it relates to an IDAC matter. I get very, very high-level reports, and verbally, because of leakage of information, the ID gives me very high-level reports, verbally, generally. In this particular case, she informed me about the impending arrest of the head of crime intelligence. I said to her, Andrea, are you sure this is a watertight case? Because arresting the head of crime intelligence is not something one takes lightly. There must be a watertight case, and she explained to me that it was part of a much bigger case strategy. This was one case that's part of a much bigger case strategy, and that the case was solid. But again, I urge, if anyone feels aggrieved by that decision, to bring a review process. And I assure the people of this country that I will look at any case, whether it's Phala Phala or this matter, objectively, and decide whether the correct decision was taken.
So they informed you before they effected the arrest?
That is correct.
So you relied on a verbal briefing. You never said, bring me a referral if there's any, so that I can satisfy myself that we have a strong case here.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
I'm saying, you are saying, you asked her if the case is watertight, and she said yes. I'm saying, to you, that was enough. You never went further to say, bring me a referral, bring me documents, so that I can also satisfy myself that we have a strong case here.
We have processes in the prosecuting authority to ensure that cases are, it's not just one person that takes a decision, not just the ID. There's a team of people that actually work together to decide on these cases. So when the head of the investigating directorate gives me her assurance that the case is strong, I must take her word for it.
So you took her words. You never required.
That is correct.
Or you only relied on her words.
And a very high level briefing of what the case was about.
So according to your knowledge, was the arrest procedurally fair? Were all the requirements met for the arrest to be executed?
Can I ask what requirements the honorable member is
There's a
referring to?
referral and so on and so forth. You don't just go and arrest a person. There was a referral which was brought by a member of parliament in terms of the report that was tendered here. I'm saying, did you satisfy yourself that all the required documentation and the requirements were met before the arrest was effected?
That is not the function of a national director. And I certainly did not go into that level of detail.
It means we have different acts, NTPP. Really, I don't know the act that you have, but in terms of the act that is before me now, you do have that statutory obligation. When it says a report can go further by saying, give me the documents which are relevant to this prosecution or arrest, so that you do not become a victim of misrepresentation. You can do that. There is nothing that stops you. That is why I said, to me, you appear as the NDPP who does not understand her statutory obligations.
Chair, as I mentioned, the IDAC head gave me a high-level briefing on this case, a high-level case strategy, and why this case was strong enough and important enough for them to proceed. I agree with you. The National Director requires that kind of assurance from the DPPs to ensure that we don't have errant DPPs or IDs that are doing their own thing. It's important to have that level of assurance. And in this case, I got the level at a very high-level briefing, that level of assurance from the ID in this matter.
Yeah, because we are going to rely on a half-cooked information, and you are the one who accounts in Parliament. We ask questions from you. Now, if you are responsible, you can't just rely on a verbal update or report. Documents must be submitted to you so that you are going to be in a position to make justifications if that need arises, and to give a report and to be confident and say the NPA here did everything that it could do. Now you are just relying on a verbal report. There is absolutely no papers before you. You are saying this was said to me and it ends there.
Honorable Namwal, I think you're right. In future, we have to find a way of managing leakage of information and getting written reports, because you make a valid point. But dealing with leakages in the institution is a serious problem. And that is something else that, we need to find a way of strengthening our information security across government. But that is a serious concern, and I'll certainly take your point on board.
In December 2024, the media reports that the IDEC boss was addressing the personnel of IDEC, and she made some remarks. She was saying to staff members they must fake it until they leave it. They must go to court with empty files. But in summary, she was encouraging them to pretend to be busy while they were not. And you made an interview after that. I can't remember the media house that you were in, but I came across that interview. You were asked about that incident, and you denounced it. You denounced it. Is it correct? Am I correct?
I didn't denounce it. Perhaps what that honourable member, that the media house that you're talking about, the Amabungane interview, because I was interviewed, and that entire interview was one that the makers of that interview used the New Lane matter as a linchpin to lynch the National Director and the NPA. I was asked during that, and I hasten to add that that New Lane matter was one of the most scathing judgments against the National Prosecuting Authority. And of course, the media had a field day quoting from the judge who called it a comedy of errors, etc. We took that matter on appeal, and the Supreme Court of Appeal overturned the New Lane judgment, and in fact said in that decision, and it's important because this case seriously dented the reputation of the NPA. But the Supreme Court of Appeal overturned that decision. And in fact, the judgment rendered by the SCA is one of the strongest against the conduct of a judge that I have read. And there were terms like it went against the administration of justice and things like that. So that New Lane matter is the interview that you are referring to. And of course, when the matter was overturned by the SCA, there wasn't much that was said about it in the media.
No, I will ask 5 minutes from Kosana. I want to ask about Paul O'Sullivan.
Yeah, no, the time of Skosana is not yet allocated. Yeah,
When it's allocated, Chair, not now.
okay. Honorable Bradenbach, you wanted to ask a follow-up question? Okay. Can I check members who want to ask follow-ups? I see Honorable Ngola. Is your hand up, Honorable Skosana? Okay. Those will be the two hands. Thank you. The list is closed.
Thank you, Chair. NTPP, the country suffered an embarrassing legal battle. Whether substantively or procedurally, we lost the application to extradite Guptas to the Republic of South Africa to face the wrath of the law. Now, you indicate that NPA is planning to resubmit the extradition request to the UAE. But you're saying you are unable to give us the exact time frame. And that's worrisome because this matter has dragged for quite some time now. Now, why is it that you can't provide exact time frames on when is NPA going to submit an extradition request against Guptas in the UAE? What is the actual plan in respect to that? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Well, what I can say is from the information that I received from the ID, it will certainly be before I leave office. So, but I certainly hope it would be even before the end of this year. But it will be soon. We are working very hard on also ensuring that we have additional charges that will be added to the original extradition request. So it's the time that it's taking is that we're not just resubmitting the old request again. We have investigated some other very important cases involving other SOEs, and there will be other charges that will be added. That has been the delay and why we didn't submit immediately after that.
Honorable Skosan.
Follow up on top of follow up. The Honorable Ngola just asked the advocate. I just want to ask you, when the minister assured South Africans that
Honorable Skosana, you are not asking a follow-up on the question that was asked by Honorable Ngola.
No, I was going to ask that. So on top of what he was asking, my way of questioning will be different from Ngola, but it's the same follow-up which I want to get from her.
I just want to remind you that when your hand was up, you did not know what he was going to ask.
No. I knew what I'm going to ask, Chair.
Okay.
Yes. Now, perhaps let me say this to you. Have you ever spoken to the minister then, Lamula, about this extradition Honorable Ngola is talking about?
We had many conversations.
About this matter, the extradition matter, have you ever discussed with him?
Yes, about that.
Are you aware that the minister assured South Africans that the Guptas will be extradited from Dubai? Are you aware of that?
Didn't hear that.
I'm saying, are you not aware that the minister assured South Africans that the matter of the Guptas, they will be extradited to this country? It's just a matter of time. Was that discussion between you and him, or it was a political statement, maybe? You distance yourself from what the minister told us.
No, I don't distance myself from what the minister said. I don't know the details of it, but what I can confirm is that there will be an extradition application, and this country will do everything possible, the NPA will do everything possible to extradite the Guptas, who have been responsible largely for bringing this country to its knees, for the state that the country is in terms of when corruption has a face. The face of corruption is no sanitation, no water, no roads. The basic infrastructure of people was stolen by Guptas and others allegedly working in concert with them.
Let
And
me
owe
add.
it, if I may finish, Chair, I'll be very quick. We
Okay.
owe it to the country that they are brought back. So what the minister said, I'm not sure, but certainly we will do everything possible from our side to extradite them. Extradition does become a political process. And so, you know, we can't guarantee it because the process is completely in another country. But certainly from our side, the minister would be correct if he said that we will do everything possible to bring
Yeah,
them back.
but the advocate, for me, you are, you know, we had a witness here, Minister of Police, we are doing exactly that now. I'm saying to you, my question is simple to you, a follow-up question on this matter, because you are talking about extradition of the Gupta family, which South Africans are waiting for. Now, my question was, have you discussed that with the minister? Because the minister assured South Africans. Because as you said, let me add on that. This country is in this state because of Pravin Gordhan. You might not want to mention him, but I'll mention him for you. That family. No, I'm saying I don't want to be selective. We want them to come here to account. But I'm saying to you, hence you said that we are in this problem because of the Guptas. Wrongly or rightly so. I'm saying to you, it doesn't matter whether he died. I'm saying this country we are in this scenario because of one of the persons who has done that is Pravin Gordhan.
Point of order, Chair.
Now, no, I don't. He never respect us when we are alive. You can't tell me how to deal with that matter.
Point of order, Chairperson.
Now,
Can I take the point of order?
yeah, please, because
Chairperson,
they are starting their
each time he
shenanigans
does
now,
this-
raising point of orders,
time
raising
he
their
does
hands,
this, we
because
will end.
I'm mentioning somebody which they love. You know, and I'm saying let them
Chairperson.
refrain themselves because I'm talking to the advocate. The advocate is capable of answering for herself. You know, now, my last one, Chair.
Honorable,
On this matter, I want us to finish it because they were intimidating me and we are not protecting me, Chair.
Honorable Skosan, I say to you that
Always, yeah.
there is a point of order. And even when I have alerted you of the point of order, you continue to speak.
No, but they are talking to me. They are busy. Why is I'm talking? They are making a point of order, but intimidating me. Why is I'm talking? They must just raise their hand.
Honorable Skosan. Honorable Skosana, may you please look at me. Thank you. Can you see me? Okay. Thank you. Can we listen to the point of order, Honorable Sangwen?
Thank you very much, Chairperson. And each time Honorable Skosana does this, I think he must know that we'll call order. Chairperson, Honorable Skosana must withdraw the remarks that he has just made. He did this on another day. We called him out. And it's on two reasons why I'm asking him to withdraw. Firstly, he's casting aspersion on a person who's not even in this house, cannot respond. Secondly, he is misleading the house. He must back up what he is saying. And if he's not able to do so, then he has to withdraw. He's misleading the house. Comrade Pravin Gordhan was not found guilty of anything. Comrade Pravin Gordhan was at no point, I mean, he's just coming up with aspersions, and he must withdraw that issue, Chair.
The point of order is sustained, and the time that has been allocated for you to make follow-ups has also expired. Can we,
I'm sorry, Chair, my time.
for follow-ups,
Yeah, but I was not finished, Chair. Let's be beyond reproach in terms of political parties.
No.
If you're saying it's sustained, Sangoni, it means we are saying I'm wrong.
Honorable Skosana,
No,
if,
Chair.
if you may please listen to me. You know, when we allocate your time to ask you follow-up questions, we have always differentiated between follow-up questions and opportunistic questions that come with the bandwagon. So the time allocated for follow-up questions has expired. You are going to be allocated your own 30 minutes, where you will come and rightfully field the questions that you are opportunistically trying to smuggle now. So if you have seen the time that Honorable Ngola used to ask follow-up questions, you will agree with me that now you are 4 times beyond that time which was allocated to him. And I want to persuade you to agree with the chair and support the chair that we must move forward. Thank you so much. Can we move to the Democratic Alliance?
Chairperson, we can't move. You said the order is sustained, he must withdraw. He must withdraw, Chairperson. These matters relating to the Guptas were fully ventilated in the State Capture Commission. Comrade Praveen, there were no findings that were made against Comrade Praveen. And for them to keep coming here every day and misleading us and saying Comrade Praveen was responsible, that can't be allowed, Chair. He must withdraw.
Did you hear what it means when we say the order is sustained? And I can see that, Honorable Skosana, you don't have a temptation to compete with the date.
Chair, for the sake of progress, I'm going to do a noble thing. But I don't want people to say, yesterday I said that, I said that. Let's talk about what I said now. I'll withdraw now. Let's go. Let's finish with the advocate. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah. And Honorable Breitenbach is applauding. Honorable Sokanyile and Honorable Skosana, you take Sokanyile home and you take Skosana home. Bring a public representative here.
Please repeat that, Chair.
I mean, take Sokanyile home, take Skosana home, bring a public representative here. Yes. Yes. That is what makes you a public representative. Yeah. Honorable Breitenbach and Honorable Cameron, who is starting between the two of you? So it's going to be you and Honorable Topper. I'm allocating you 40 minutes. Yes.
Chair, I still had a follow-up, remember?
Okay, before Honorable Breitenbach, let's take the follow-up from Honorable Shongwe.
Thank you, Chair. Advocate, there's something that is stuck in my head that you said before I asked this question. You said you don't see us finishing corruption in South Africa. That worries me. I hope you look into it on your own time. But this is my question. NgesiZulu we say iqala alboli. I don't know how to say that in English. But when are you opening a case for Honorable Umpati Andre Johnson, whom you said this thing that she did in being in the panel of her husband was 20 years ago? When are you acting on that, if I may ask?
Thank you, Chair. I think on the first point that the Honorable Shongwe raises about not finishing corruption, that will be utopia. It will be great if we have a country and a world without corruption. But realistically, I don't think we're going to get there, notwithstanding our best efforts. But we will keep fighting. With regard to case against, as I said, this has only just been revealed, and we need to look into it and look at the circumstances, the context, etc., and see if there's any steps that are required.
Well, can we maybe give it time, because you see, you acted fast when it comes to arresting General Khumalo. So can it be of the same pace, please?
Chair, firstly, with all due respect, I had nothing to do with the arrest of General Khumalo and in terms of acting fast. So that's the first thing. But we do try to do our work speedily, and I can commit that this will be done speedily. Thank you.
Thank you very much.